Okay, it looks like I'm live. I can't see anything, so I'm assuming that is the case. I just want to give you a bit of behind the scenes because people always want to know what's going on behind the scenes. I put my makeup on this morning, presentable to do a speaking engagement in terms of a networking event with franchisees, looking professional, hopefully. Had lunch with my husband, pub lunch, and then realized I had to go and get ready for the gym. Gone to the gym, come back, and here we are. So a bit bedraggled, but we're going forward with this. So maybe a bit controversial, but when should you ignore your lawyer? That's what it's about today. Now, I'm going to assume that your lawyer isn't a bad person. I'm going to assume they're not evil or corrupt. I'm going to assume you make good choices generally. And I'm also going to assume that you have trust in your lawyer around legal matters and handling things for you. That's all good. You've built that trust up, and I entirely understand that. But what I'm really talking about is when it comes to mediation, when should you ignore your lawyer? So you've been approached, or you're considering mediation, approached by somebody, perhaps a party wanting to mediate, or you are considering it. And at this point, I really want you to pay attention and think about this person you may have brought up, may have been involved with them for about a number of years or months. But think about this area because this is different to the usual legal advice that they may be giving you. Properly, I'm assuming, legal advice on the issue. But do they understand mediation? That's the question I want you to think about. Have they handled any mediations themselves before? Have they been at a mediation and assisted people? Not once, maybe on a consistent basis, or at least more than once. Let's say at least a few times to get an idea of how that works. Do they practice as a mediator? These are all questions I want you to think about when you're faced with the prospect of mediation rather than perhaps going to court, trying to resolve your matter. And do they know the difference between negotiation and mediation? Because often I hear non-lawyer professionals or professional lawyers say they've mediated for their parties, and they haven't actually. What they've done is negotiated for them. That's a different thing. So do they know the difference between mediation and negotiation? All those questions I want you to bear in mind and have your checklist. You can note this down for you or someone else who might need this information. Because if they don't know about mediation, if they haven't had the experience, and I mean more than once, perhaps, then what they're doing is pushing you one step closer or many steps closer to court, and they're bolting the door behind you to mediation or settlement. Okay? And you can't go back. They're also causing, there's more cost and time that is building up here. And I'm very passionate about this. And the reason I am very clear today as to why I want to speak about this and when you should ignore your lawyer, very controversial, is when someone very recently decided to go ahead with their lawyer. And I understand that. They built that trust up. Okay. They've built the trust up. They trust that person, maybe don't trust mediation at that stage. It's new to them. So the two things that was showing up over the last few weeks was they trusted their lawyer who had no mediation expertise. They did not trust the process for mediation. It could have been with someone else, didn't have to be with me. And the third thing that they did, and what the other party did, is they didn't leave their pride at the door when it came to the prospect of mediation. And the reason I'm telling you this is I wanted to tell them the three things. Really, don't trust your lawyer here. They haven't got the expertise. Trust the process. That's the mediation process. Number two. And thirdly, leave your pride at the door. And the parties didn't do that. Now, their loss is actually your gain today. So you're welcome. But I really think it's important to bear in mind the different processes. And again, off the cuff saying this now, if you really don't understand what that is, this is not the time for me to take you forward on that today. But feel free to drop me a DM or an email if you're on my email list. I've got my newsletter, and just touch base with me or the team so that we can give you what you need to understand. Because you not understanding this is costly, and your lawyer not understanding this is extremely costly for you. And I'm putting aside negligence here because I'm not saying it's a negligent thing, but I think there's a lot of issues, layers to these things. I'm going to preserve people's confidences, but it's really important for you to understand what you may be doing kind of on a consistent basis, automatically, without thinking, without appreciating things and how you could be damaging your situation and how someone else could be damaging your situation without knowing it. Also, just to let you know, if you're popping on here before I forget, this week we have put a lot of new things in online, and they're available to you if you want to drop a message to access these free points that we put forward this week. My team have done a really good job this week doing things that I think a lot of people are asking for. And that is perhaps some of the basic stuff that I think is basic, but I appreciate other lawyers are putting it out there and it's important for you to have. So I'm going to thank the team for that because they're the ones who are putting together that information. And I want to go deeper with people. And the way in which you can go deeper with me is to make sure that you get on the newsletter or DM in response so that I can at least have a initial consultation with you and give you what you need and what direction you're going in. There's a lot of material that we've got, and I think it's important for you to have it, but you also need to know how to use the material you get. I see a lot of the time people are saying to me, oh, I've got a lawyer, or this person's a lawyer, or this was a well-known lawyer. They all do different things. A lot of the things that I see are what I would call basic as a barrister. And that's fine because I think people do need to some extent that. But I'm not the same, that we're very different. So I want to make sure that people understand the difference. So welcome today if you've not met me before, but please take away today the message that there are three things you should be listening to ensure that you're making the right decision when it comes to your lawyer and the mediation process. And I'm going to just have a sip of my Prosecco. So join me in doing that. Have a good Friday.